Hello. Hello, everyone at home. Welcome to our first live stream event. My name is Avril Hepner, and I'm from BDA Scotland. And today we're focusing on an issue that is about waste and the environment and keeping Scotland clean, and hopefully the rest of the UK too. But for this discussion today, it's very important to include our next two guests. We have one hearing guest and one deaf guest, and we're going to engage in a little bit of conversation about this topic. You'll also see two interpreters on screen because we have one interpreter providing voiceover for our hearing guest and the other interpreter providing BSL for our access. So hopefully we'll all enjoy our conversation today, and we'll all come away understanding the importance of the environment, particularly this month in Scotland and across the UK. And hopefully what you'll hear will motivate you to get involved. But first of all, I'd like to welcome our first guest, who is Heather from Keep Scotland Beautiful. Heather, welcome. Hi. And we think you have an interpreter with you too. Great. That's lovely. Hello. And I'd also like to invite our second guest, which is Kristers. Hello, Kristers. Hi, Kristers. Thank you for joining us today, Heather and Kristers. I'd first like to ask you, Heather, if you could introduce yourself a little bit to our audience and tell them who you are.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having me on today. I'm Heather McLaughlin. I'm a campaigns officer at an environmental charity called Keep Scotland Beautiful.
Terrific. Thank you. We're going to be coming back to you in just a moment with some more questions, Heather. Thanks for joining us. And perhaps, Kristers, you would like to introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about yourself. Hi, my name's Kristers, and my surname is Kristers. I'm from Dundee, and I'm also in the Youth Advisory Group for Scotland. Oh, welcome. Okay, so I've got some questions lined up for the pair of you. I mentioned earlier that this month is a very important month. I mean, these issues are important all year round, but this topic is really at the top of the agenda this month for Keep Scotland Beautiful. But before I go into asking you some more questions, I'd like to show our audience what your website and your Facebook page look like. Great. So Heather, first of all, can you tell us about Keep Scotland Beautiful and why this month is particularly important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know Scotland is beautiful, but we can't take it for granted. So as a charity, yeah, we want to be very positive and proactive about working with people in communities to protect the places they live, work, and visit, but to also urge those who might not be respecting our environment to change what they're doing. And this month is, as you say, particularly important for us because it is our annual Spring Clean campaign.
Okay. Great. And how long has the charity been established, Heather? Is this a new charity or have you been going for a while?
No, this is in fact our 25th birthday. So as a charity, we have been operating for a long time.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
25 years, that's fabulous. Lovely. I'm going to come to you, Kristers, now. did you know about Keep Scotland Beautiful as an organisation? Well, actually, I found about them recently because they established an event that I heard about. I thought it sounded like an amazing idea. And I thought it was also important for young people, future generations, to get in touch and get involved with picking up litter. So I thought it was great. But, I had been involved in something similar at school, but nothing kind of established on a charity level like this. Okay, so I think there may be people across Scotland who obviously know of your work already, but there may be people in the deaf community who haven't heard of your charity, haven't heard of your work, and we'll be talking more about your website and your Facebook page and how to get involved. But can you talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned this month was special, and we saw a poster there about the Spring Clean activity this month. Is that just in April? Or does it go from March into April? When does that month run? And why did you pick this month in particular to be the special month?
Yeah, so our spring clean is annual. We change the dates every year to sort of fit around school breaks, and to try and fit with. I mean, we don't know what the weather will do, but to try and keep it as early as possible so that vegetation's low still, but also in Scotland late enough that we can, should it snow, still have some time in the sun.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's a good idea. Spring, but it can be a little bit variable, can't it? And also, people are spring cleaning their homes, aren't they? And so people might be throwing things out into the environment. And it's nice to connect that idea of cleaning the environment in the same way that you clean your house. Lovely. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the aim of the spring clean. What are you hoping to achieve with that? We're going to show some photos first, and then perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what's going on in them. Well, maybe Heather, you can tell us a little bit about the aims first. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our spring clean is taking place in Scotland right now, but we do work in collaboration with our sort of counterparts in England and Wales as part of the Great British Spring Clean. As I've said, it's running for a full month. That should hopefully give everyone across Scotland the time to get involved.
Oh, terrific. That's great. And have you got any figures, any numbers that you can give us? Like how many people got involved last year, how many people you're hoping might get involved this year, those kinds of figures?
Yeah, so last year we had over 40,000 people get involved, and this year we've set ourselves a target to get 50,000.
Wowza.
Yeah, we're currently at the halfway point in both the time, and we have got, as of this morning, in fact, 25,000 people. So we're getting there, but we need more people to get involved.
That's great. Yeah, terrific. And Kristers, have you been involved in the Spring Clean? Have you done one of these? Yeah. I got in touch and volunteered. And our school has got, quite a lot of grounds and quite a big area. And at lunchtime, we just go out and pick up the litter around the school, and it's great. It does actually make you feel really good. It's really calming, and it's a really great activity. Okay, and is this something that the school is encouraging you to do at lunchtime, or do you do it any time? Is there a group of you doing it? How are you organizing yourselves around this? Oh, we do it all kinds of different ways. We find all sorts of different things. We found chip papers, dog leads, oh, you name it. And is it mostly food litter around the school area? Yeah, we find some young people do tend to drop litter, and this is a way of trying to encourage people, and not just in school time, but when they go home, pick something up, put it in the bin. Yeah, this is a habit to pick up permanently, isn't it? It's not just a one-off thing. Exactly. Thanks for that. And Heather, you may know that here at BDA Scotland, we've been involved in supporting you at Keep Scotland Beautiful, and we have set up a group for the first time. We had a one-day group. And can you tell us a little bit how you felt about that activity?
Yeah, so we launched the Spring Clean with the British Deaf Association on the 21st of March this year. So we did a litter pick around Glasgow Green along the waterway there, and hopefully prevented some of that litter that we were finding from blowing into the water and ultimately going out to sea. And that's part of another campaign that we also run across the whole of Scotland too, called Upstream Battle.
Absolutely. So before we talk any more, I was involved in this as well, but we've got some photos to show our audience of what it was like to be on the litter pick. Here we go. Lovely photos there. And also we were very lucky. We had a lovely day, and it was a very smooth pickup. But I think we were out for about an hour. I think I'm right. And there was a fairly large group. We didn't really go very far. We walked, picked up a little litter. We stopped, we talked, we walked on a little bit more. It was very gentle and smooth as an experience. Kristers, you said, you know, as you said, we found all sorts of things that we're picking up. Cigarette litter was a very frequent find, and also lots of plastic bottles and so forth. And as Kristers, you said, there are some surprising finds as well. We found, some stirrup from a saddle that someone had thrown away. Like, where did that come from? And there was a sort of police thing. It looked like one of those tapes that they put up when something dreadful has happened. There was a bit of that had been discarded. All sorts of things along the river that had been thrown along the riverbank there. So it was kind of educational, actually, and really quite a reflective sort of experience for people. I'd recommend people getting involved with it. Our group involved people from our local deaf community, from a school nearby, and from others in the locale. And that really helped to form a little group, helped us connect with the people in our community. So whose responsibility is it really to take care of our environment? I don't think you can put it on any particular group, really. I think it's everyone. We all have to come together to do this. We all have to work together to do this. And make sure that we keep our environment beautiful. And do you think it should be just like schools doing it or other members of the community? Oh, no, I think it should be up to everyone. I think it's great that the BDA is involved, but I think we need to involve everybody in this. Families, maybe, when you go to the beach, maybe that's an opportunity to do it when you go to the play park, all kinds of times. Heather, what do you think about Krista's comment there that, it shouldn't just be an activity that's organised in schools, but it could be a family thing? I mean, who have you seen getting involved in the project so far? What would you say to our audience who might be thinking of getting involved?
I completely agree with everything Krister said there. This is protecting our environment is everyone's responsibility. So we do see lots of schools getting involved, and that's brilliant. We see families, we see organised community groups, individuals just doing it in their own time. But we also see businesses, small, medium, and large, getting involved. We see large organisations. We have an office in a local business park, and we got involved as part of our business park to clean up that area and the surrounding areas. So we do urge everyone to get involved. We firmly believe everyone can get involved if they have the appropriate guidance and equipment. And we're trying to do that for people across Scotland.
Great. And just to say that, you know, on the litter pick that I went on the first time, you know, there were lots of people who joined our group who had never been on a litter pick before, who'd wanted to get involved in something like this, but didn't particularly have the confidence, didn't have the confidence to join perhaps a hearing group, you know, a group of all hearing people because of the issues around communication and the barriers there. So I'd wanted to get involved, but this was the first time they felt they could. And so that was a really beautiful thing for us at the BDA to see. And as we walked, we learned that, you know, there are lots of people who, as a result of that, in our group, wanted to get involved in more mainstream litter pick groups as a result of that experience. And it was a really unifying and bonding experience.
I think the beauty of litter picking is that everyone get involved, and you get more benefits than just removing the litter from the environment. It's a social activity. You're getting outdoors. You're walking around, so you benefit both your mental and physical health and well-being too.
Absolutely. And we now have one deaf person from that group who's recently joined their local litter picking group. They went on their first litter pick last week, and they felt, you know, very involved, very welcomed, and hopefully that kind of confidence and enthusiasm can, you know, can spread. It's really been a good experience for them. Kristers, your local school, when are you doing your next big pick? Do you have something planned? Well, yeah, we did one that we did that you know about. And that kind of generated quite a lot of enthusiasm amongst more people, more pupils to get involved in the next one. So we're a bit flexible with timing. It depends on when we can get out. It depends on other events, you know, and when we can timetable it. So we're keeping it flexible, but yeah, it's good. So, Heather, if our members of our audience watching today want to get involved, what's the process? What do they need to do to join in? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they simply want to join an existing event and they feel confident that they can do that, we do have a map called our Clean Up Scotland map that has public facing events where groups have organised a cleanup that they want more people to join in with. So they can maybe go and find a local event that way. But if people want to organise their own activity, we have guidance on our website. I'm sure the links can be sent out to everyone. A few sort of key things, I guess. Find your grot spot, your dirty spot, and pick a date and time that suits you, and maybe speak to the groups around you, the local authority, local schools, to see if they can help you, or whether they already adopt it and clean it up regularly. And you need to get the appropriate kit. So I know Avril on the slides was showing the high-vis vest, the litter pickers, the hoops. So you can get kit from, again, your local authority or a local group potentially, and then promote the event to your wider community, whether that's through social media, on our map, or through posters and everything like that, to encourage more people to join you on your litter pick.
Great. And any specific, you know, thoughts about when you're actually out on a litter pick, are there things that you should not pick up? Anything that you should avoid? Any kind of safety issues around that?
Yes, what we would encourage those people organising events to do is on the day get there early so they can sort of do a visual risk assessment to see if there's any added dangers out there. We would then ask and suggest that they brief the group to make sure they're operating safely. And as part of that briefing, we would encourage people to fill their bags with the heavy items so they don't hurt their backs. And then not pick up anything, sharps, needles, probably not dog poo bags or anything that might tear the bag as well. And if you do find any of these items, we'd encourage you to contact the local authority so they can pick it up for you.
Dog poo bags though, Heather. Not dog poo bags, you're saying?
Well, I would when I was out, but we know that some people might find that a step too gross.
Okay, thanks for those tips. So there's going to be a lot of variety of things to pick up, but if I'm hearing you right, you're saying don't fill the bag too full because it's going to get too heavy. Gloves are important as well, I think, aren't they? Because a lot of people came, said that didn't want to get involved because, their hands might get dirty and they didn't like the idea of that. But when we said to them, no, there's going to be gloves and high-vis jackets, and, they were much more willing to get involved. And I think that when you get to the end, I didn't feel dirty at the end because, I'd got my gloves on, we had these litter picking tools. So it didn't feel like you were coming into contact with litter personally. It felt quite safe. And can I ask you, Kristers, on your litter pick, how you felt afterwards? What were your reflections on the event? Yeah, like I said earlier, it felt really good. It felt very satisfying. It was like you'd really achieved something, like you'd been involved in the community, you'd done something for the environment. And, here in Dundee, locally, there's a park here that, regularly arranges litter picks, and you see a lot of bags being collected on that litter pick. So it feels really nice that the sight of those bags and the sight of a clean park might influence others to keep the park clean, to keep it tidy, and might just kind of spread that vibe, really, that we really should be keeping things clean. And Kristers, you're in the youth advisory group, which is a part of BDA Scotland. Would you be thinking about encouraging other young people to get involved in this sort of activity through the youth advisory group? Oh, I would love more young people to get involved in this. I think it's a really good networking and bonding activity. And, you're in the youth parliament as well. Do you have strong views about the environment that you see coming through there? Oh, definitely. I think the MSPs that, of today are very concerned about the environment. It's a priority issue. And, obviously for the young parliamentarians, we're looking to our future. We're looking to save the environment for our benefit. Scotland is very rich, beautiful and diverse as a landscape. And that's something we need to preserve and cherish. Thank you for that. Heather, have you seen anything over your 25 years that remains a concern? Do you see any worsening trends, or do you think things have improved in the time that your charity has been running? Any thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what the Spring Clean does for us is it raises awareness of this issue. And as Kristers has pointed out, the things that we're finding are often food and drink related products, or eating and drinking on the go, that sort of fast culture that we've sort of, I think that's growing across Scotland and the wider world, in fact. So what we kind of want to do is we love the Spring Clean. We want to get people involved. We want to pick up litter, and we know people enjoy that. But what we also want to do through it is try and prevent us from needing to do. And litter picks and pick up litter. And we want to really think about the waste that we're consuming, the packaging that we're using, the unnecessary packaging that's on products, and use it as a tool to really think about reducing our waste, so contributing then to sort of mitigating the climate crises.
Thank you for that. I think that's a very important thing for our audience to be conscious of. And I don't know, Kristers, whether you've begun to notice that, as there are more kind of drive-throughs, people are just throwing things out of their car windows. It seems to be a growing trend on the motorway, or when people park in lay-bys, you see these piles of litter in lay-bys. Any thoughts on that? Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's very disappointing to see that, isn't it, on motorway verges and so on. I think, you have to be safe on the motorway as well. And I think that kind of litter poses a danger. I think it's difficult. And any solutions to that kind of motorway littering? How do we promote cleaner Scotland to drivers?
Yeah, so for us, for roadside litter particularly, it's even more dangerous for people to clean up, and very, very expensive to clean up safely, because a local authority will have to close roads to enable their staff to get out safely to clean it up. So for us, even more so than other litter, it's about preventing it from being dropped in the first place. And what we've done over the years is try and get those messaging to drivers at source. So we have actually worked with a number of fast food outlets to get messaging in drive-through windows, messaging as a driver moves out of the drive-through, to ensure that they're giving their litter a lift and taking it home with them. Roadside litter is probably one of the biggest complaints we get in from local people, but also from tourists travelling to Scotland and unfortunately seeing issues on our roadside as the first impression they're getting of this country.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, I always think, that you just have a bin in your car, just pop a bin in your car, and when you arrive at your destination, put it in the litter bin. It's not really difficult, is it? It's not rocket science. There's no need to throw stuff out the window. But I think also, you're looking at generational modeling. If children see their parents chucking stuff out the windows, they're going to do the same, adopt the same kind of behavior. So, Kristers, what do you think about that? Coming from the youth angle. Yeah. Recently, me and my family toured northern Scotland, and it's really stunning up there. Nature is just fabulous up there. But it does make you think, you're bringing food, and yeah, like you say, put it in the litter bin in the car. I wouldn't have thought of dropping it out the window at all. I mean, it's really not hard. It's a really simple thing. As soon as you see a bin, stop, put it in the bin. Yeah. Absolutely. And I sometimes say, I wonder about people who throw this stuff out the window. And I wonder whether that's because, we saw at one time in our history a reduction in the number of public litter bins that were available. And I wonder if that remains an issue, that people can't find somewhere to throw it, so they just throw it out the window. What do you think of that?
I think for us, we would say that we need the right sort of bins in the right locations with the right servicing pattern, rather than having more bins. I think we've all probably been in a town centre where there's litter strewn across the street, but an empty litter bin. But likewise, we've actually done trials where we've removed bins from lay-bys, and actually there was less litter as a result of removing those bins. So I think we don't yet know what's the right solution, I think, here. And it's about making sure the right infrastructure is in the right location, and that people know and trust that they can find that when they need it.
Okay. I'd now like to turn to kind of, ideas of action. How do we encourage people to, use bins, to become concerned about this issue for the future? What are your predictions? What's your forecasting? What things do we need to take urgent action on? And what can we ask, Kristers, I'm going to come to you as well, but, what do you think after the spring clean month? What are we forecasting from then on? What needs to happen next?
Well, I think this is a really, really busy space. There's some quite exciting sort of policy changes happening over the next few years. So we have been campaigning over the last 2 years to try and get a ban on single-use vapes. So that's coming into effect in June. We're also seeing some movement on the deposit return scheme that will obviously place a value, in theory, on plastic bottles and cans. So that, again, should try and remove them from the litter sphere. And likewise, what we're trying to get across the line is to encourage producers to take more responsibility from packaging that they put on the market, again, supporting with local infrastructure, with the local authority action to remove it. So I think there is quite a lot happening. And increasingly, I do feel like we as a society are thinking about reuse, whether it's coffee cups or lunch boxes, reusing our water bottles. So I do think that we're talking about this more and more, then hopefully we see a shift in behaviours as a result of that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's food for thought, isn't it? In terms of a call to action and everyone being responsible. Kristers, what's your perspective on that? How do you see the future? Well, I think, yes, I agree with you. You're talking about single-use vapes and plastics and those kinds of things. And I think it would be great to see those things disappear, from the environment and from our concerns. I think, I agree with everything Heather said. I think those are the solutions. We have to use refillable bottles. We have to think about those kinds of things. And hopefully we get more and more people to follow those behaviors. And we have to do that together, don't we? It's about everyone working together. It's not just about the individual. I mean, it's not just about the environment being affected either, is it? It's about animals and wildlife. Have you had any experience in your cleaning activities of effects on wildlife, Heather?
Yeah, we have. I've got a colleague in the office who once found a rodent who had died in a plastic bottle that had been littered. So we see that. I mean, you see the sharps. I've heard of friends who have dogs that have stepped on maybe shards of glass that have been littered. And we've seen other bits and pieces on the beach, things getting stuck in nets and all that sort of stuff. So we do see a lot of this issue. And I think this issue is something that really speaks to people, particularly around sort of ocean and the marine environment. Seeing after Blue Planet 2 came out a number of years ago, there was this big swell in people wanting to clean up the ocean, which was really positive because it meant people were getting involved.
Yes, I've seen that. It was pretty awful, wasn't it? Yeah. Kristers, anything that you would like to add about wildlife? Yeah, in Dundee, and we've got a beautiful beach, which is Ferry Beach, and it's gorgeous, and we regularly do beach cleanups there. So I think it's important because that is, we've got porpoises and dolphins and all kinds of marine animals. So I think it's really important to keep them safe. Yeah, so it's about animals, it's about people, it's about the environment being for everyone. I think we've covered most of the issues that I wanted to raise, but I just want to ask you if you have any tips or advice or encouragement for any of our audience watching today. Any final thoughts that you'd like to add?
Well, one thing I would like to add, I guess, is being in my position. Quite often, I get people asking, "How do I get involved? I don't need to worry about anything?" And all I would say is, it is a very simple activity. In reality, it's simple, it's fun. You can do it on your own, or you can do it in a group. So don't worry, just get involved.
Great, I couldn't agree more. And I think because, especially now that we've come through COVID, when there are lots of kind of plastic things around in the street, and now, we're coming out of that kind of isolation. People are beginning to learn to connect to other people a little bit more, even people that they don't know, to say thank you and to just involving themselves in that kind of civil exchange a little bit more. And I think this is a real move towards encouraging that. Kristers, anything you'd like to add before we end? Yeah, I'd just say, you can do it yourself, but also encourage your pals to come along, be an ambassador for it, get other people involved as well. I think it's a really good activity. Well, great. Thank you both for your tips and your ideas. I think this is a great starting point for our viewers to begin thinking about this. And hopefully we've encouraged some people to not just sit back and let someone else do it, but to give something back to the environment, to keep our beautiful environment of Scotland beautiful, and to encourage others in the UK as well. And perhaps we can set up a network of deaf litter picking groups right across the UK, from Cornwall and St Ives all the way up. Because we have a deaf community, we could perhaps facilitate that. Get involved in your local group. You don't know where your local deaf litter pick is. Start one. Publicize it. Get other people involved. And I think it is for everyone to take responsibility for this together. Would you both agree? Absolutely. Well, thank you both for this really wonderful discussion. And I hope our tips and our thoughts will encourage others. And good luck to keep Scotland beautiful in your ongoing work. And I hope you achieve all your ambitions. I hope you get your 50,000 litter pickers for the rest of the month. And I hope you carry on your good work for another 25 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you to the interpreters.